Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Process. My name is Bear Knox, and with us today we have Connor O'Farrell from Black Licorice. He is a music businessman, a rock star, a new age rock star, the fucking guy that you're all going to be talking about 25 years. So let's get right into it, sir. This show is about the process of making art. I'll talk to all sorts of artists, but I'm a musician myself, and you are the dude I want to talk to about rock music, because I don't think it's dead. I think it smells funny, to take a little love from Frank Zappa. Jazz isn't dead, it just smells funny. Well, rock is in the same boat at this point, because we have been littered with shit for quite a long time, and, well, I think we've perpetuated pop music for just long enough that it's all generic gruel, and I'm hoping that in the very near future we have an indie uprising that is led by the likes of, well, you and I. So without further ado, good sir, do tell us, what do you got going on?
Okay, well, okay. If you want to know what I got going on, so basically it's that. It's rock ain't dead, it just smells funny. Now, why do we think this is the case? You know, what's up? If only someone had wrote these things out, because he was planning on emailing a bunch of people and messaging them. Okay, so basically my thesis, very general, is that, and I'm generalizing, to have an art ecosystem and a scene and to have all of this, you need some combination of the artists, the people creating, the fans, and maybe not in the middle, but kind of all in like a loop, feeding back into each other. You need to have what I'm calling facilitators. That's my term now. We can find a different term later. But the idea being, back in the day, it was the record labels, and the whole thing was predicated on record sales. It was being able to make something for $5 or for $2, sell it for $10, and so anytime anyone listened to music, they had to give you at least $8 a profit. So times a million people listening to your record, 8 million for one record. Now take this to all of the bands all of the time. And this worked good too, because it's like, how much is a record? Well, it's like a cheeseburger today. You know, if you're in California, or if you're in like a big city, most places, it's one meal, right? And if you go to a sit-down restaurant, it's $20 like everywhere.
All the time.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere, even in like rural the South. There's a block away from here, lives a $17 cheeseburger. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And so for like the price, back then of a cheeseburger, it made sense for the fans, but it also made sense for the people making the money, the facilitators, right? The more business people who are like, on it. And then you also have the artists who want to be courting the muse and doing this whole thing, and which is good and important, but there needs to be money, there needs to be patronage, there needs to be some sort of system and ecosystem for all of this to interplay. I think you need some combination of the artist, the fans, so the rockers, the fans, and the facilitators. Back in the day, it was labels via record sales. Now, I think we're entering a new era. If we want rock to come back, we have to intentionally put together a new organization of these three coming together.
For sure.
That's my thesis.
Oh man,
and
I'm totally down with your thesis. The small business owner is, well, it's something I am. You know this, but I think every single artist is legitimately just that. They're a small business owner. Everybody hates that. Like, the artist hates wanting to like take a hold of the business. They just want to sit in a room and make their art and paint on canvas and have some guy in a pinstripe suit show up and make everybody rich. And that's hard to do. But in a world where we have immediate access to cameras and microphones and in our pockets all the time, the artist does have a means to communicate to an audience or people that are just interested in their given art style. And that's a golden opportunity for us. It's a golden opportunity to say, hey, if you like this stuff, you like rock, you like just more interesting, sometimes avant-garde music, like, come check out what I got going on. You'll probably like it. That's a great avenue. God knows it's going to require an advertising budget, but it's also going to require a shifting of the music lover's mind, because even somebody that goes, hey, I really love listening to music, I listen to music all day, it's a part of my identity, they're just paying Spotify and not any artists. And like, you'll love a band to death, but unless you listen to one of their given singles 400 times, you'll never give them $1. Like, you'll never give them $1. And I think Spotify is a discovery mechanism, and same goes for Apple Music, same goes for SoundCloud, same goes for any streaming place. I think that those places are big billboards where you say, hey, try before you buy, and if you actually give a shit, hit me up. You can find me on my social medias, and all my buddies on their social medias, and you can like contribute to the arts and be a good patron of the arts, and make the world suck less.
So I think you're exactly right. I think there's two things, right? The first is, or actually three. Let's three. The first thing you said was, this is a try before you buy, right? Exactly right. Then the second thing is, they got to buy, right? And my fundamental belief is that the buy isn't the social media. Social media profiles are still the try before you buy.
Totally the try.
Here's a clip of me talking. Here's a clip of me on YouTube. Here's a YouTube short. Here's an Instagram reel. Here's a TikTok of me. Like, anytime I play anything, instead of recording all my ideas onto my iCloud drive and having to pay for storage space, TikTok pays for free for me to post all of my ideas. And so anytime I have an idea, I want good audio, I take my phone. I put the camera facing me or whatever, so I can see myself. I have this end facing me, and then I have this end right. I have a little tiny PV audition chorus. It's from the 80s. But I just put it so this is right where the speaker is. Good placement for the cones. And it sounds great. It sounds great. And I go, and then I realize sometimes if I make funny faces, it works. But all this is to say is, that's still try before you buy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? And so, what is buying? And so I guess kind of my thesis is the last dynasty, if we're going to call it that, the last ecosystem. Basically, you need an ecosystem where all of this can happen. There's a trying before you buy element. But then the fans and the rockers and all of this needs to come together. Eventually, the rockers and the fans need to combine into a community. And that used to be, it would happen first in person, and then it would happen online. But now that people don't leave the house first, they want to be blown away, a part of something online first, and then leave the house. You've got to have a way to actually have community online. Social media is not built for that. Social media is built for engagement. It's built to get money off of things going viral. It's built for, mass media. It's like, the big record label music that's still around today that's supposed to get billions of streams so it breaks even. Likewise, social media is the exact same thing. It's not built around community. And so my proposal, my solution, unlike Rick Beato and these people who don't provide solutions,
just
right?
Complaints, only complaints. Yeah.
Exactly. And I like the Rick Beato guy, but it's especially a thing when you're like, dude, you have the most ability to change it. I don't know if you saw, but I did a video on him talking about the Oscars.
Yeah.
And he's complaining, the Oscars, the bands are either they don't rock that hard, they're young, or they're nobodies. And I was like, dude, you're freaking friends with all of the big rock stars. Do your own award show called the Beatos, the Beaties, the Beat-Offs, and have the Beato Awards, right? And literally invite them all in, and then have a best new rock category for new people, and use that to promote them and help them get big. You could say, for the first year, say upcoming, to showcase all these people who are doing really good, so that next year they are big, right? It's like, you could solve this easily. You could also make a ton of money doing it. You could help, actually put your money where your mouth is. If you say you care about rock, but you don't do anything, do you really not, right? And so this is the thing, too, people don't understand, is you have to judge people by their actions more than their words. Words are great, but only if there's a history of their words and then their action doing the same thing. Even if there's a little bit of a delay, but that's the only way your words have value, right? It's predicated on the fact that, you've had value in the past, right? It's like people investing money in like a band. If they know this band always sells records and they always make back the money, well, they're like, okay, I'll invest the money. It seems like a sure thing. It's, the perceived likelihood of the dream outcome is pretty high. And I don't know. I talked about Rick Beato, but the whole thing, my solution is, I believe for our new ecosystem, our new rock dynasty, the social media is great for getting exposure, but if you actually want this to happen, you need to be able to build a community. So I think this is why we see things like Substack, like Patreon, like a bunch of these different places are starting to be successful. And so my proposal is, I made a website that's a community platform. Basically, I think social media, community platform, yeah, because that's what you actually need to have a career. You only need, 1,000 diehard fans, your John McClanes from Die Hard, right? You only need 1,000 of them, and to make, $100 off of shirts and tickets and things like that a year to make $100,000, right? And so if that's the case, well, I've got 400,000 followers on Instagram, but how many fans do I have?
That's NewRockDynasty.com, yes?
NewRockDynasty.com. So that's my website. And so the whole reason I go to say this is, the idea is, you get the bands, you get the facilitators, you get the fans. Basically, the bands go on, they have their own fan clubs, and here's the thing. If you build your own fan club on your own website, you're isolated somewhere on the internet, people are like, you're not big enough yet, do I really want to give them my email? But if there's a bunch of bands they like, they're all there, and they can buy merch directly in, and there's forums, and they can talk. There's no algorithm, but there is tons of people posting and stuff, and so they can see things happening on the site and engagement. You're not having to rely on, they love me so much that they'll come and check me out. They might say, you know what, I like them, and I like them, and I like them. Oh, you know what, I'll go over. And then spending time on there, hanging out with you, uninterrupted, just you. There's no algorithm, there's no ads, there's no shadow banning of you. They can actually fall deeper in love with you. Yeah. And you can actually build a relationship and get that back and forth, because you need to iterate to get good when it comes to refining things. That's my, tends to be a thing. Getting to iterate leads to you getting to improve quicker. That's why they say, Steve Jobs, real artist ship. You have to actually release it, click send on Spotify, upload file, and drop it, even if you don't feel the greatest about it. I have a song where it was an idea that I liked called I Don't Need You, or whatever, and I had it kind of as like, it was almost like it sounded like a weird mix, like Puddle of Mud and Nirvana and the Beatles to me. Kind of like Day Tripper or something, where it's like very like Dominant Seven or Taxman. I kind of like took a Taxman thing, but then made it a little more, and I kind of did it with like grunge, and it was kind of felt stupid and big, in a very kind of like slightly sarcastic and ironic Nirvana type of way. But then when I was recording it, I was like, it was midnight, and I didn't want to wake up it was like 3 a.m. I didn't want to wake up my roommates at the time, and so I was like whispering. I was like, I don't need you. Oh. And like all the other instruments that were like saxophones and stuff, I did them as like guitars. And I did like an acoustic bass. I just did all these weird things. And then when I was like, this is cool. But eventually, like a year or two later, I hadn't done anything with it. I was like, I just need to put this version out because it's just weird and cool. I'm like, I wonder if anyone will like it. And DistroKid, who I was using as a distributor to put stuff on Spotify, they were like, oh, we can, for an extra $1, we'll master it for you. I was like, go for it. I'm like, because at some point you got it, these things weigh on you. And so I think you got to get them out, you got to iterate. So that's why, to bring it back in, you want to have the fans and the rock and the community all in one place. And so my thesis, and this is the last thing, and then I want to turn it over to you and hear what you think, is that, so basically explaining the whole the ecosystem. I think you need an ecosystem for rock to happen. Joe Rogan makes a really good point that the reason LA was magical was you had the rock stars, the comedians, and the actors all hanging out. So you'd go to the Comedy Store, you would see the famous comedians and the upstarts, but also famous people, actors, and musicians would be coming in and doing stuff. And you would be mixing and you're getting inspired by them. And so then comedians would show up on set, say, hey, hanging out with their friends who are the actors. And then you'd have Johnny Depp or whoever at the rock show backstage. And like there's this whole confluence of things and you've got a scene. I think like probably during like Paris was probably like that during the Enlightenment. Like all these different times. But I think you need a place, you need a scene. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, let me first off build a framework for that to actually emerge online and actually enable that ecosystem and enable artists to do that. But then second off, I'm thinking a good idea for a first stronghold physically would be like Austin, where all the comedians, all the energy people there. It's the #1 live music city in the world, so there's tons of people there. It's easy. There's a lot of bands in Texas who started following me from watching my YouTube videos and stuff, so I'm like, well, that works too. I'm like, they're certainly there. And someone knocked on my door. No, they didn't. But also, I think having a... Oh, no, I was going to say, you've got this weird confluence of you'll have the rock stars, you'll have the comedians, but instead of the actors, our modern-day actors are kind of like influencers and social media people. And there are, like, social media people in Austin as well, whether they're doing tech, whether they're doing fitness, whether they're doing all these things. You've kind of got like, okay, there's the makings for a scene, but we need some kind of events. We need some things to crystallize this and actually turn it into a thing. Plant the flag, show people that, okay, this is a path to a career. I was listening to, it was Andrew Schultz talking to Joe Rogan the other day, Andrew Schultz, comedian, New York, pretty successful. And they were talking about how the show Kill Tony gives hope to starting comedians because even if they go on there and do a minute, they know that it's a path to a career because even if you bomb when you're talking to them, you might actually stumble upon something pretty funny about you that might be the beginning of one of your first really funny things you do. And then over the course of 2-3 years, maybe you come back on and then you're like, wow, you really blow people away. And so it's a path to a career. And so I think likewise, if you can get the effect of a scene, you can get the online infrastructure built out, right? Because the way I see social media is it's a sinking ship. Like you've got a bunch of holes in the boat and everything's sinking out versus a community platform is just a ship. And it just builds and more people are caught in until there's hundreds of thousands of people there. And so then if a band pops up, instantly everyone's checking them out. All you have to do is go on like other people's forums and other people's chats and just start talking and interacting. There's a way where basically like the default when you pull up onto the site is you see whoever you're following or whatever, right? Or whatever groups you're a part of, you see everything that's happening in there. And so if someone likes a post in that group who's another random person, you're going to see a notification, this person, Jim Bob and the Jim Blossoms liked your post. And you're going to be like, oh, okay. And you can see it. And you can see if they liked anyone else's post. Now, if you want to, you can click just like you can swap what your feed is, if it's everything, or if it's just people I'm following posting stuff, or if it's just likes. You know, you could do that. But there's actually a structure for this all to build. And so if you're a band starting out, once there's even 50 bands on here and, 200, 300, 400 fans, it's instantly like, oh, instead of going on social media and trying to find all the rock people again, and everyone's trying to individually find every rock person, they're already here.
Right.
They're all in one place.
Yeah,
you just go here.
You've made a musical club there, and you're establishing what is and what we need, which is a scene that's online.
Yep.
So you can gather a national audience or an international audience.
Yeah.
That is a specific,
or even local.
Yeah, right.
Even local. Even there's a local subset, because that's the thing too, is you play a show and then you tell people, go follow us on Instagram. I did this a lot. They don't see your post. They get shadow banned. So then they don't even come out. They don't even come out to your next show. We had shows where we had 300 people, and then the next show we had 0.
Yeah. That sucks, man. Yeah, that's true. And that definitely happens to people that are trying to promote their art on social media because social media. Because
it's a sinking ship. It's a sinking ship. You throw them into the boat and they flow right out. They flow right out. And so that's my whole point is if you have a place where it's actually a basket, a wicker basket where everyone just gets caught and they're there. They're all there. And then once the site has built up to a certain point, whether you joined and helped and bring some people and this person brings some people, once a bunch of people are there, every new person doesn't have to go and try and find everyone. They're already here. You just show up. Boom.
Yeah,
you just show up, you network, you hop on their podcast, right? And so on the YouTube feeds, I just had this hit me and I want to hear what you have to say after. But you go on there, and there's people who have podcasts and whatnot. They're posting their episodes on New Rock Dynasty. So the way people are finding stuff is not having to go through the YouTube algorithm. It's I check New Rock Dynasty first because I actually care about rock. And so I think this is the evolution of the internet. With maturing of the internet, it's going to be community platforms first, and then people will check social media because social media is like fast food. You need to first have your protein, your vegetables, your healthy stuff, your water, and then you can throw in some Dunkin' Donuts if you got some room. That's social media. This is actually your hearty breakfast, is your real shit. And so people are going to start by looking first, what is the real stuff I care about that's important to me that I actually care about? Because it'll feel better. It's get rid of this term doom scrolling. It's actually like fulfillment and like community, actually having a community rather than you're engaging. Because on social media is not community platforms. In community platforms, you're talking to people. What's rewarded is actually connection. But in social media, it's being inflammatory, it's being shallow, and getting people's limbic system and getting people. It's getting that happening. That's what actually gets, everything on social media. So you're not interacting with real people. You're either interacting with bots, you're interacting with just impulses, emotions, not the entirety of a person, right? And it's short one-off interactions with every single person always. That's not how art happens. That's not how culture happens.
That seems to be the biggest TikTok problem right there, is just the fact that you can follow somebody.
It's discovery.
It's
only discovery.
It's only discovery.
It's not a business. It's not a community. It's not real.
And so when you're building something that is designed to just keep a consumer, not make a fan, not engage somebody who is actually interested in a given art, because art requires the beholder share. You actually have to sit there and be attuned with the thing. But you don't really need to do that necessarily for offhand comedy or for just a swiping platform. And as long as there's an ability to discover novelty becomes the art that you're stuck with. Like that's what TikTok sells is only.
Why do you think Polyphia is the only band? Polyphia is the only band, like bands like that, right? It's you need something, and it's not that Polyphia doesn't have good songwriting too. They do. I don't listen to them all the time, but like the one song they did, like bam, 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 bam. It's an ABC song. They did. Anytime they do a song with a singer, it's so good. They had a song on like the album like 4 years ago. I saw them like right before they blew up, like a month or two. So I'm not like hipster points. I'm not getting those, but like.
Wait, but I mean, do you think that like the generic element is being pushed because of the scroll culture, the doom scroll culture? Because like there was the medical school in Vienna that did that study indicating that the more popular a subgenre gets, the more generic the genre itself gets because it's more algorithmically favored. And then of course the labels back engineer this, make more of the generic stuff and churn out more and more slush, but it keeps getting consumed. And it's like, well, of course it keeps getting consumed because so does McDonald's, right? You said, fast food, man. And it's
sustenance, it's short term, it's low time, or it's high, I guess time preference. You're preferencing immediacy. I hate this term high time preference, low time preference. I use it in economics. It's really high immediacy preference.
Yes,
low immediacy. It's immediacy. And so this over indexing, this everyone being biased towards the immediate thing, it's not how humans actually behave, but we have this whole economic system, and I could get into the whole thing where like there's all sorts of legal precedents and stuff that like sets basically there's an economy that's predicated on this super immediacy, and it being somewhat advantageous in the short term, and that rapid, if you can get really, really insane growth, escape velocity in the immediate term and just totally immediacy maxing and just completely maxing out your build, you can get such a compounding that it beats all of the long-term destruction you're doing to your company, to your band, whatever project, your label, your genre, the art form, whatever you're doing. And so the play is on that I can get lucky enough that I can scale this so quick that I get such a high return and I'm able to escape the consequences of everything bad that's going on. But as AI, as technology, as all these things go down, we'll probably get to an age, if you're looking at like quantum computing, you're looking at AI, you're looking at protein folding, you're looking at mapping the human genome, you're looking at these things, we're probably going to get to a point within the next 5 years where they can extend human life by at least 20 to 30 years. The next 20 to 30 years after that, they'll probably be able to extend it 100 to 200 years. And that keeps going until you get to the point where basically the only time you die is if you choose I want to be dead forever, and then you do, right? And so if we get to that world and we get to this realm of such abundance, they figure out how to basically manipulate just like different phenomenon, like the computers. You got supercomputers basically that can just do anything and can figure out how to just make matter appear, because they're doing that with like proteins and stuff now. Just change the molecules and then boom, this thing turns into a completely different thing. Because in theory, if you could just change all of the atoms of an object, it's a completely different object, right? And so they're getting to this point, whole reason I go on this big thing is we're getting to a point, it's just to make the extreme case of where your logistical like efficiency and getting logistically better and like your immediacy and all of this stuff is becoming less and less and less valuable because it's being commodified. It's becoming unanimous and cheap and just everyone can have it in abundant intelligence and flexing how smart you are and being able to recall things when everyone can just type on ChatGPT isn't really a flex anymore because everyone knows you can just get intelligence. So the art and the emotion and the actual things that take time to build and mature and community, the things you can't replace with things being faster and cheaper and more, you know what I mean, more short term, the long term things, the investments, these are increasingly the only things that will be important that people will value disproportionately. Art, investment, reputation, these things are going to be the things that actually matter more and more. Hence why I think the community platform is the logical
identity
conclusion.
Crisis is really pushed with this form of consumption because something that allowed for identity structure was the books that you bought and took to your house, the cassette tapes that you bought and took to your house, or the vinyl records that you had, you took the cassettes into your Walkman, and that meant that you had a finite storage capacity and it really mattered what you took. And now that there's an infinite storage capacity, you swipe permanently, always and forever, and therefore you never latch to any one thing, and you don't know who the fuck you are ever because it doesn't occur. There's nothing solidified in your life. You know that you saw this guy do this funny thing a couple of days back, and you're like, I'll find it, man. I'll hold on a second, and you fucking don't because you can't because yes. He was really awesome. He's really good at what he did. But there was 131,000 other guys just fucking like him. And there's no possible way that you're going to get back to that guy.
Yeah.
And now you don't even respect him anymore because there's 131 other thousand guys just like him. But that community dissolution hurts the creature we are. And that is that third place, that exists. I try to achieve third place with the gym, man. I really try to offer a community like that at the gym where it's like, hey, you might not go to church anymore. You don't do the community center thing. There's no venues really around here, and the scene isn't so hot, especially for rock music. But this I don't know, homelessness is really permeating society right now, American Western society. And man, our culture really has turned into this fast food type of thing. It really has swapped, that's pressed itself into our arts, and it's getting pretty ugly, but I think that ugliness is a requisite for death. Like, it's going to run itself all the way to the end of its course, die, and that carcass is going to get picked apart. I think that people are going to look for a musical community, an online community that isn't just fast food, because they're getting bogged down by it. They want to go get vinyl records now and listen to music that way, which is great for the artist, of course. Again, if you can buy physical copies of things, again, that's really important. But yeah, what you've established is it's yet another art form. What you're doing is applying a creative's mentality to a business, and business people aren't typically keen on that. But it's like a modern age hippie, man. You understand?
Well, they don't care about anything. I mean, here's the fundamental premise, right? And so if you want to see disproportionate success in business, here's the thing: if you really wanted to be successful in business, you'd have to realize that there's the seen and the unseen, right? And everything that's like this logical kind of logistical value that you can create and exploit and get improvements of, and exploit the fact that you can improve it, not that you can exploit laborers, yada, yada, yada. Sure. Insert marks here, in the comment. But the whole point is, if you actually realize that stuff's easy to see and easy to measure, but it's very true. There's a whole other category of stuff which is harder to measure, like brand and goodwill and things like that.
Certainly.
There's a guy who's I think he's like the executive vice chair at like Ogilvy and Mather or whatever, but like one of the biggest marketing companies in the world. His name's Rory Sutherland, and he writes really good stuff about this. But the point he makes is that like pretty much like there is so much to be gained by just because like all these big companies will hire consultants like, how do we make more money right now? And he's like, what happens is the consultants go, hey, we can save you, $100,000 this year by getting rid of something that's going to cripple your entire business in 5 years because everyone's going to start to hate you and they'll eventually stop using you. And so those people who are not purpose-driven are short-sighted, and so they're more likely to make these mistakes. The people who actually have something they care about and a reason why they're getting into what they're doing, they're way less likely, even if they can't rationalize and understand and pick out every single piece of what feels wrong with doing the thing that's going to emotionally hurt it long term. Like they just feel bad, so they won't.
You can't
removing the doorman. You can't remove the doorman at a luxury hotel because you have an automated door with a key swipe because you don't want homeless people hanging out front. You don't want but you also, even outside of that's once again logistical. Here's the real thing: you want the experience of I'm in the place, I'm in the mindset. It's beautiful, it's grand, right? I would be convinced that companies that actually have like cool offices and cool stuff like that, just the fact that people seem to forget that simply something being cool makes it a good idea. And if you can add on logistical reasons too, people are undervaluing coolness, right?
Well,
it's like coolness is forever motivating. It's great. I'm going to go off this. Sure. Greatness in general is, I fundamentally believe that's the difference between humans and every other thing that exists, right? Life, if you had to define it, is being inspired by greatness and wanting to go and achieve it, right? And I get into a whole thing where I've kind of got a framework for how I define what rock is and if things rock or don't rock, because I was getting into a big discussion with these Rick Beato videos about Steely Dan it's softer rock, right? And so I think rock is kind of like an intensity scale, like power or energy. And really, the more power the listener gets from listening or consuming that piece of art, even if it's not music, the more power that gets through you, whether it's excitement, whether it's whatever, that is actually how hard something rocks. You can measure it based off of observing how it impacts the other people, right? So a really cool sports car, people go, God damn! Like, it changes. You physically change. And so I was talking about Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance. You see the crowd is not hyped up. It didn't rock hard enough, but it's not rock music. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, they got the crowd amped up. It's an energy measurement, right? And the Smiths are great, but they're lower energy. They clearly don't rock as hard as Metallica. I like the Smiths. It's still good. This isn't artistic value, but if you're talking about measuring rockness, right, how much something rocks, and I think that tends to be correlated, not always, but separate, but also kind of related, is the idea of greatness, maybe a different scale on which you measure. But when we see great things, it instantly lights a fire in the human soul, and like, there's no way that can't be productive. And anytime even if you have that energy, now you can turn it into something great.
That's
like
exactly
getting people
right.
motivated to go build a community, and then that'll make money, yada, 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 right?
Yeah, we run into the false God problem thing. What we've done is we put monetary advancement as the pinnacle. That's the zenith, and because
momentary monetary advancement.
Right.
Momentary, which is even stupider.
Right. Exactly. But it's how much it's how much you can get out of the game while you're in the game. It's a little Keynesian. It's like, listen, that's somebody else's problem. Don't care about 100 years from now. Gonna do it now.
And let me cut you off. Let's get to it. Here's the fundamental thing. We're entering the infinite game.
Sure.
The premise of all this stuff was scarcity, and that's why there's even a preference toward immediacy at all. As we go further and further, it's pretty much a less and less preference for immediacy, and it's how quick can I get stuff in the game right now. That's going to go away. The new God is going to actually have to be purpose. Sure. Meaning, all of these amorphous things that we still don't know yet, that might be, out of reach of the physical realm, those are the only things that are going to matter.
It's
the only way to do things.
It's the shit that takes time to really sit inside of you. Like that's
when money can't buy you anything else, you know what I mean? Once it gets to the point where money can't buy you a nicer car, a better thing, because everyone can just animate it with a snap of their fingers, right? And we literally get to sci-fi land. You're in Star Trek world. How do you actually have status?
That's why you
It's gonna have to
fucking.
be respect,
That's why
accomplishment,
you like
building
this
community.
shit. Like you can't
Oh
fucking
yeah.
buy it. You have to
But
go
right, but
get it.
for now, for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? Until they get an Ozempic for that, right? Until they can go in and snap it, but still, yeah, exactly.
You can shove in the test, but you still gotta fucking make it happen, baby.
Yep.
Like,
You're still gonna get respect.
Something about sticking that needle in is pretty committed. Listen, there's okay. So for you,
Yeah.
like let's pull this tight into
Love it.
what you've done is you've taken an artistic route to building a great new business model, and I applaud the shit out of you for that. Now let's dig deeper into you making art, man. Like your songs. All right, let's.
Yes. Now let's get to it.
You did a semi cover, I would say, with Witchet.
Yes.
So that is, I love Devo, and that shit was awesome.
Yeah.
So you took Whip It and made it Witchet, and like, I really appreciated the fact that you have your own tonality in that song and your own, really your own rock approach to it, because that song, like Whip It, actually does rock, even though it's like synthy, but you fucking made it like actually rock, and that was a really cool move, man. Like I appreciated that. I would say though, that Tell It To Me is my favorite thing that I've heard of yours so far. Like that's a pretty old song. When did you write that?
I was playing Witcher. I was trying to figure out what I did. I can figure out if I sit here, but this is my. So I'll give you a little bit behind the actor's studio. I'll get you inside. This is my my little I've got this tiny. You can see on the headstock here. It's Squire Mini.
Sure.
Right. And so I've got my mini thing because I'm a little manlet. No, but I put this in C. No, normally I like to play an E. I don't like doing the drop D stuff because it makes it too easy to riff. And so I want to come up with ideas. I want to basically, if you take this idea that a lot of ideas they don't really come from us. We don't really create them, but we stumble upon them, and we refine our resolution and our understanding of what that idea is and how to actually bring it into fruition. That idea already exists out there. I want to stumble upon the ideas that people aren't stumbling upon. Hence why you swap to an alternate tuning, you pick up a guitar you haven't played, it makes you feel some sort of way. You stumble upon different things, right? And so I think if you try and put your vocabulary in different places and you only let yourself speak with letters, with words with 3 letters, right? You're going to come up with very different sentences, very different stories, right? Versus I can only use 4-syllable words, every single word for the sentence I'm going to say. It's going to be a very different ideas that you stumble upon, and then you're able to refine. Maybe then once you stumble into an idea, then you cut back the syllable rule, but you just go into refine mode. But putting on, it's not, people say, oh, I put on the constraints. Really, it's no. You're trying to approach something. You're trying to explore a different space of ideas. You're trying to bump into, the only way you're going to bump into stuff that no one's ever bumped into before is if you walk around blindfolded in different places that no one's ever been to, right?
That's
and so
exactly
if you try
right.
and walk around blindfolded, right? Yeah. So that was my approach.
Well,
so I got that in C.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
You're placing limitations in order to become limitless in a given space. Like it's an interesting thing. There's something that infinity can't be, and that's finite. And that is what an artist does. They lock on constraints and they go, I can explore this space inside of these constraints. And that's something I was talking about in the first episode of the process with Damian Kane. Like he limits himself down to start a painting, and in order to begin, you have to decide, hey, there are parameters here, and if you apply parameters into a void, then that's creativity. It just emerges. The emergent property needs relationship, and relationship has to come with borders, and that's really interesting. It's like relationship might possibly be the only real thing, the relationship between that limit and the finite. And I'm glad you said that, because I think that's going to be a recurring theme through any given medium. I feel that way entirely about music. Like that's all the theoretical shit that we go and think and learn on and like enjoy exploring. I mean, God, if Rick Beato's ever done anything awesome, it's really putting a wonderful uh, library of music theory information out for young musicians and old musicians. Doesn't matter. Like, man, dude, I went through Berkeley
Yeah.
and didn't pick up everything that Rick has put down, which is
Let me
really
give
cool.
you let me give you one thing, and this is what really grinds my gears with that. Because as a songwriter and as someone, I think a very great thing is being able to find unique chord changes. Let me see if I can put this in, but it'd be just like About a Girl from whatever Nirvana. Oh, da 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 da. Da 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 every night. The thing about that song that's good is it's just picking one or two chords. It's instead of going from this is a scale and this is a key, it's going from how does this group of chords fit together in a unique way that sounds good? There's something here, and then if I'm writing a melody, I'm trying to bump into a melody in a space where no one's ever been with this sequence of chords. And so, if music theory should be there to help us do anything, it should be, I think, the thing is that the only thing that I can't just do myself and stumble upon is really interesting, weird chord progressions. And so, if you can, but that still work, that are really good. And so, if you can get those and make a database of those, that's the only thing I want from some nerd like Rick Beato. Love Rick Beato. And I love, no, but I mean, I love the music theory stuff. I bought his Beato book. I went through the whole thing. And I'm like,
Sure.
dude, you know all this stuff. You know how to say what everything is, but you haven't actually discovered, like, how do I actually use this to identify the actual cool stuff outside of just like, well, this is the scale and this is the tonic of the scale.
Some people can do the methodology of
Exactly.
coming through and naming everything, but like, yes, you need to feel it, you need to play with it, you need to embody it, but there's something interesting that comes along with the theoretical landscape. Is you might see ideas through a theory lens that you would have never found otherwise, and then put them together and use those things as your finite. You use something like, let's say, a mode of the melodic minor scale, right? If you use a given mode from a melodic minor scale, it's perfectly fine to use that as your limitation start set, and then build around that. And that's what I think a lot of the theory is useful for. Not necessarily to go into music as like a thoughts first endeavor, because that sucks when you do that. You know what I mean? If you're bouncing between two chords, you can apply theoretical knowledge post hoc to enrich it. And I'm glad that Rick, of course, teaches from like first principles in theory, but applied theory for songwriters is different than just understanding what the scale sets are. Of course, God knows a few. I don't know, one of the most interesting jazz guitar tunes that I've ever tried to analyze was Phase Dance by Pat Metheny. And he's just bouncing between B and B flat, but it's like, it's impossible to try to bracket and analyze that song because it'll just, I don't know, he's a fucking smart fella, I guess. But like, when you're approaching a song, right? So tell it to me, right? That song that you did, when did that come out?
I started writing something with the melodic minor mode because you mentioned it. I was like, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
and get you stuck in there. When did you write? When did you write?
Sorry, I had an idea. Melodic minor mode. You're talking over it, dude. No. You said, okay, when did I write? Tell it to me.
Yeah.
2019. I can break down exactly what I did.
Please do.
Oh, actually, no. You asked me the question, then I'll say.
So the question is, did you have any theoretical approaches, or tell it to me, or did you feel it out first and then like kind of figure out what you were doing?
So I started, I didn't know, I knew kind of, I had instincts when it came out. When I started the band, I had instincts, I didn't have understanding. I think I understand now what I was doing and why. At the time, I knew I should try and do something. I should try and write songs that are pretty much in a pop song structure that can sound great with a two-piece. And the reason that is because the idea, the melodies, the rhythm, the whole thing, if I can't make it sound good with one guitar, or here's actually it's not even that. It's if I could make it sound good with one guitar, one drum, and put bass on it, it's gonna be a great song. You know what I mean? If just with that, that's enough constraint where it's not too much where it's gonna be impossible, but it's enough where it could be good. And then the next thing was generally a pop song structure type of thing, just like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out, right? And then you want to set expectations the first one or two, then kind of play with those expectations going into the bridge, then go to some place, get something new that they haven't had before, and then find a cool way back into chorus. I mean, into the verse. Actually, in Tell It To Me, we go back into the verse after the bridge, but we have like, instead of it being staccato, now it's all like slurring in together and just like there's, instead of it being a lot of space, now it's all just a constant stream and just because keeping that energy going instead of the anticipation. Now we're just building. We're getting to the release part, the climax, right? And so this is the fight scene where it's totally unhinged versus all the setting up of it in the earlier on in the movie. And then when you get to that big chorus, it's now like the biggest time ever we get to the chorus. Put in all the fills, do whatever you want, and then outro, just kind of like do just the chorus, but just like bang down, and just kind of like let it really ring out without the vocals, and then eventually just end on a big whatever one chord. So the whole reason, so that was the general pop structure thing, is what I meant to say. But what I was doing was, I realize now, is I was increasing the power. I knew that implicitly, if I can take something that rocks because it sounds cool, but then I can also throw it in a structure that's really catchy and accessible, and people already know, they're pre-propagandized to like that format. It's already going to be some level of baseline effective and powerful in giving them, boom, energy, even if I can't understand exactly why. I didn't have to pioneer and discover that verse, chorus, intro, verse, chorus. The intro is something similar to the chorus. Verse, chorus, bridge, you know what I mean? Bring it down, build it back up, yada, 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 use pauses, use spaces. That was kind of, I realize now, it increased the rock level of it, right? And so I was like, okay, that's why I was using the pop song structure. And then also I was like, I need to get the reps in. I just need to write a bunch of songs so I can play a set. Oh, here we go. Bare Knox dropped for a second, but I'm going to keep talking to you, lovely people. I knew that kind of idea. And so then when we get to this specific song of Tell It To Me, I probably went on a giant tangent here, but I'm seeing if Bear's going to hop back in. Mr. Bear. Here's the story for Tell It To Me. Tell It To Me, I was sitting there, I was like, man, I wrote one song where I was kind of like the Strokes, where basically the Strokes have just simple chords going on one guitar, just strumming them pretty much like eighth notes, like dun 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 dun. Yeah. And then the other one goes dun 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 dun, like single note melody that kind of goes to the chords. And so I was like, what if I try and do that on the same guitar at the same time? So I wrote one song called Licorice, where it's like dun 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 dun, because I thought that'd be cool. What if I could try and play chords and the melody, but get the different rhythms, so I'd have to take the melody note and like lift my finger when it's not supposed to be there. So it was really difficult to try and get. Yeah. And I just did my version of it. But so I was like, okay, I wrote one song kind of like the Strokes, and then I was like, let me do one like the White Stripes, because I want to do something like that. And so I went and learned which is Black Math by the White Stripes. Understand, writing down things that I don't know. And so there was a structure of hold on a chord, say stuff, and then so that was kind of the verse idea. And so I took it, instead of being A power chord, I moved it down to G, and then I went damn myself, and I just did a hit instead. I went, let me tell you something, and see what abuse says, down, cause I don't want to hear your bloody excuses, and so it's a similar thing, right? Where I was like 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, down. But that one I think it's like 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 1, 5 4 5 4 5 4 5 4 1. I think it's something like that. If you're
Yeah.
talking notes, it's pentatonic scale. But I'm just using lingo for you guys watching out there. You don't know. It's lingo. Anyways, whole point was then the chorus is about down and 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 down. It was just more power chords, just keep add on to kind of that sequence, but play them out so you can actually sing something. And so I kind of took that and I was just like, okay, well, let me add some pauses and just do what I think would be a cool version. And I kind of did that, repeat it twice, and then and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor by Arctic Monkeys. That's how I was like with the bridge, because I was like, okay, I've got a power chord bridge. They did this thing where they did like kind of like minor third, like, and so for Tell It To Me, I'm in the wrong tuning for it. Let me do some quick mental math. I have to go up 4 frets. So 7. Let's see. Was it let's see. Yeah, here we go. Don't tell it to me. Yeah, where you go up to like, so the root note is what the chorus kind of ends on, which is G. Right? And so then it goes power chord, keeping the same rhythm of the chorus, right? Which is the Arctic Monkeys thing from I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. And I just did 3, and then you go up a 5th, and then you pick another chord. And then I went, I think, back to the root chord, and then I went up a 5th, right? So it's just like pick a power chord that fits in the scale that you kind of haven't laid down on, which was, for me, it was the 3rd. And then a 5th above it is, I think, minor 7th, right? And then 1, and then 5, going up a 5th again. So very, very kind of like basic chords, inoffensive. They let me like do something, and then I went back to 3, and then halfway through go, and then, all right, then I did a tritone, or I did like 4 tritone. So then it builds up tension, like it's out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we're going another place. Oh, anticipation, and then do some hits on the root and just build up from there.
For sure.
Kind of playing off the chorus, and then to get back into the verse. Now the verse is actually like, instead of just let me say what's up, I'm singing abuse says down and 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 down. Now it's down and down and down and down and down. Like keep it going now.
Yeah.
And then so then you get to the chorus, it's bigger. But basically I was ripping off Black Math by the White Stripes, and I said, how would I make it my turn?
I had a question about that actually. I noticed that song did have a bit of a White Stripes feel. Is Jack White a big influence for you? Is like, you know,
yeah, when he wasn't bad.
But he okay, that's fair. Like when who would you say are your biggest influences as a writer? Because you seem to have a lot of influences. Like you're really well versed musically, man. Like you know, did you grow up that way? Did you just like get handed a giant catalog? Was it your mom and dad? Like where did your tastes, like, where do they really come from? He's going ham.
Oh my god, I love playing guitar. I love playing guitar. So I'm thinking about the question too, though, is where did my taste come from? So let's break it down. Let's walk through that. That's my best NPR voice. No, I'm just kidding. Like just like lamestream media. I don't know, whatever. But I'm just playing around. Oh, peace and love. Okay. I'm a silly, goofy guy above all. I'm very big on fun maxing. Here's my Diet Coke. People are like, you have so much energy. What are you doing? I'm like, a coffee in the morning. I'm like, I got a lot. I know. Everyone's like, you on drugs? I'm like, drugs are scared of me. Drugs wish they're on me. I'm like, brother, drugs cost money. I'm like, no, I really, if you, I think if I break it down, I'm really excited about stuff, and there's a lot of stuff I've got to get done because no one else is getting it done. So I'm like, we don't have time to sit down and relax, really. I'm like, I got to go through school, get really good grades, get a good job, so I have money, so that I have time to go bring back rock. And then once rock is starting to be brought back, then I have to go into overtime and work 80 hours a week. But now I actually can do whatever sleep schedule I want and whatever work schedule I want to just keep amping it up, because I don't need to be the world's greatest rock star. But if I can create the ecosystem, then I can actually let that person come out and let these people. And so you don't even have to like me.
I like the fact that
starting a musical revolution or igniting a musical revolution is a fucking side quest for you right now. I mean, it's not a side quest, but it is what's required, man. It's super funny that it does. Like, you really do have to secure some sort of economic floor so that you don't fucking starve to death and die while you try to get art out. And, like, that's totally reasonable. Everybody that I know that's an artist has, like, sucked that dick, where it's like, listen, this is gonna be tough. We got to figure out money. We got to eat the cheese sandwiches or just have sleep.
Well, that's why I'm building the NewRockDynasty, the whole ecosystem. The first part was like, okay, this is clearly a problem. We have no mechanism. If the mechanism is 1,000 diehard fans, your McClanes, your John McClanes,
then we'll fucking find it.
Exactly. Then we need to make some sort of mechanism for them to opt in, and that actually facilitates that. Because now with the leaky ship, if someone could become a diehard after interacting with you 2-3 more times and really become a diehard fan and tell all their friends and family and want to see you play shows and you know what cities to tour and all this stuff, that never happens. That future never happens. That timeline goes away on social media. But if you actually have a place to capture them and like nurture, and you guys get to, and it doesn't mean it's going to work every time, but you actually, there's a chance you guys can actually have serendipity occur and you can fall in love, right? If there's no circumstance or ecosystem in which, love can form and connection and these things and peace and love and whatnot can actually exist and flourish, then how are we going to have people who aren't suicidal, who aren't feel like they're disconnected, who aren't all these things? Like, that's what we're going to get if we don't have these things. So we need to build that. And we need to build an ecosystem where we can minimize how long. It's not enough for me because I'm always going to be fine because I'm really smart and I'm really good at math and I'm really good at talking to people. But I mean, realistically, like, I can always get a high-paying job. There's no version of this world where I don't make a bunch of money, or I'm not successful, or I'm not whatever. But there is a lot of versions where a lot of people kill themselves who didn't need to, and a lot of people, and rock doesn't come back, and that's a much sadder version of the world, and I don't want to live there. So I don't care what it takes, how long it takes. I'm going to bring back rock because that's what needs to be done.
Admirable.
Right?
Very right. But wait.
But I don't have any other drive. It's not admirable. It's just that I need it. I'm selfish. I want that. And I want there to be art, and I want everyone to be able to have fun. And so we're going to figure out a way that just shits out fucking money, and so everyone's able to do that, and so we're able to live in a much better world. It's a vision of tomorrow that I want. And so that's a thing worth me saying, oh yeah, I'll do whatever fucking job I got to do so I can have the time to go do this on the extra 80 hours. And it's like, get 6 hours of sleep, drink a fucking coffee, go do supersets, antagonist supersets so I can get my workout done quick, do 30 minutes on the treadmill. Me and my brother are going to try and both move to Austin so we can rent a small house so we can actually have a treadmill that we get for like $20 off of fucking Craigslist, put it in the living room so we're watching TV while we're doing things, while we're working on our desk, doing homework, doing school if I'm working from home, right? Then I could be on the treadmill, get my cardio in, we'll go to a gym because there's a good networking benefit from that. Especially those fitness influencers, and we want to get them on podcasts and stuff, right? But that's the purpose. It's the only thing I care about. So you say, where do my tastes come from? Where do my influences? Where do all these things come from?
Good job.
It comes from
all the way around.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, because it's exactly because from growing up, it was just in me. It's one of these things where, like, I just knew at some point this is going to happen. I don't know exactly how. I don't know when. But, like, at some point I was like, well, of course I'm going to be a rock star. Like, I just knew that. But it kind of sounds weird, but, like, I was like 5 or 6. I'm in the car listening to music on the radio, and especially, like, hearing the transition when rock started going away, the rock level of everything on the rock scale of how powerful it was started going down, over the course of me being a kid, like, listening to stuff. I was born in 2002, so even going from, like, 2007, I'm 5, hearing stuff in the car, to, like, 2014, like, when I'm 12, I'm just like, what's happening? And, like, I really fell in love with Green Day, was my first favorite band, and then I really liked, Cage Elephant and early Arctic Monkeys. I didn't listen to much early Arctic Monkeys, but just the songs I'd heard on the radio, like Bet You Look on the Dance Floor, and They Said He Changes When the Sun Goes Down, over the river and out of town. They said he changes when the sun goes down around here. Listening to all that stuff, I was like, oh, this is great. And so I went to go, 2013 comes around, it's my 12th or 11th birthday. I'm like, yes. KG Elephant's new album, Melophobia, just came out. I'm like, yes, because the albums before that, it was like blues rock, but like hard rock blues, but also artsy kids who went to art school. So it had like there's some angst, but also like there's artistry here, and like they're going to be quirky, weird people who are integrating that in to make it good, even though it's got layers and cool stuff that actually like has character.
Yeah,
so it's going to have character, and it's going to have kind of like just to the point. Then the next record got artsier, but also way punkier, and just like, but it was just like, it wasn't like getting esoteric. It was getting like, just like, oh, they're really cooking. And then I get this record, and I put it on in the car, and I went, is this the wrong band? Did they get like replaced? Because it was so much softer. It went from like going at a 7.5 out of 10 on rock scale up to an 8.5 on the next record, and then I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so excited. And then it was at a 4, it was at 3, it was at Smith's level, which is good, but not what I wanted to see. Right. And so then Arctic Monkeys had the record come out in the same thing, and I went, oh no. And then Queens of the Stone Age had, whatever, their record come out and all this stuff. Maybe I got the timeline wrong, but I went back and looked on my phone and was like, oh, what's happening? Uh-oh, something's wrong in Wonderland. Something's, where does Dorothy go? Wherever, friggin' there.
She weren't in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. Shit's going down in Oz. Something's happening.
Yeah.
There's a problem. And so I grew up listening to, my parents just love music, love rock. And so Dad was a big Frank Zappa fan, but I didn't get into Frank Zappa until I was in like high school, maybe like sophomore, junior year. And then I just obsessed, of course, But, yeah, just growing up I always knew I was going to be a rock star, and I always liked it. I would say Weezer and Green Day and like stuff like that was just like duh. Just like, this is great. This is awesome. Nirvana. But just like the most like, of course, like everyone's heard it type of stuff. MCR seemed a little cringe. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I don't have time to wallow. I'm like,
it surprises me.
I have
totally
Destiny.
Surprises me that you think MCR is cringe because you have
not cringe, a little wimpy.
That's fair. That's fair. All. Well, it has to be because Gerard Way's like a theater kid, but I mean, like, you have that like. You have that theater, very theatrical, performative methodology of just talking. That's who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
I'm getting. If you want to know, it's coming from like Adam Ant and like a bunch of new wave and Oingo Boingo. That's my like.
Really? Okay.
That's my touch point for like performance and theatrical and creating like a landscape for you to fit into.
All right.
It needs to be big. It needs to be crazy. Kiss had it right? Like the hair bands had something right. If you can't impress them with quality, dazzle them with shit, and all that kind of frame. That's saying, but it's like no, but do both. Do both. And I think a part of rock is if you want that community, it's to actually let people live in the art. I think Queens of the Stone Age fundamentally failed their fans by not having that Era Vulgaris record with the greatest album art and all that stuff is so cool. The fact they don't have a plushie of the friggin' bulb, the light bulb, this like demented like 50s light bulb, bulby. The fact they didn't have plushies of that in every kid's house, I'm upset. I think they did a disservice to themselves. The community, the fans didn't get to live in that record. They don't get to do these things.
Sure.
It's anti-commercialism. It's like, no, but like, art is to be enjoyed by the people, and so if you just care about yourself, good for you. But don't put on the pretense that you want me to come to your show and that this is going to be a two-way street and we're engaging. If you're here for the people, you're here for the art, you're here for the community, you're here to actually like build something and engage with people and enrich everyone's lives, including your own.
Yep.
Like then you got to put something in here. You can't just be in it for you. And so put aside your self-aggrandizing bullshit, I'm the artist hat, and like put on a great show. Have cool shit. If you actually want your art, if you actually care about your art reaching people and you actually care about it and you want to actually affect people with it and you want to improve the world and improve life, then you need to actually go where people are.
You got to ship it.
You got to ship it. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
The rest of this is BS. Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, I love the, like, just like, you got to do both.
Yeah.
You got to do both.
Yeah.
Well, you got to actually bring art into existence.
Yeah, and well, there's artistry in that endeavor, and
graphic design, T-shirts, album art.
Yep.
The reason I wanted to listen to this album right here, Witchfinder General, Death Penalty, their first record, I go to witchfindergeneral.net. I own that website. Anyways, It's their official website. I got to interview the guy at some point, but I'm going to wait until I'm bigger and the website's blowing up. And so he goes, oh my God, this guy's bringing back rock. This is so cool. And look at all these famous guests they had on in their show in Austin, their live music thing, whatever show. But anyways, the band, this album cover was so good. I was like, I swear to God, I need to like this record. And then, of course, it's great. The vocals and the mixing are like, but if you just turn it up loud, it's good.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. It's like David Bowie or these things. These guys with their nasally voice. Ow. It's like it takes getting used to. There's a band, Japan. They have a song I really love. Adolescent Sex. I forget what the record's called, but
I don't know the
they're
song.
from friggin' 80s.
I know Japan.
Down, 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 higher, down, 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 down. Give it up, give it up, give it up, take it much higher. Get it up, get it up, get it up, take it much higher. Whatever gets you through the night, just keep on dancing. Whatever gets you through the night, just keep on dancing. But it literally, it's just very nasally.
Yeah.
And it's an acquired taste with some of that stuff. Like, I love the band UK also have their records. Alan Holdsworth, oh, thanks, Rick Beato. Alan Holdsworth played guitar, their first record. God, the singer on that, it's a little bit more of the nasal thing. It's the 80s thing. I hate this too. It's like, dude, you want to talk about Alan Holdsworth? Stop talking about your pretentious bullshit. Actually give good music. It's like, if you actually care about any of this stuff, it's like the Queens of Stone Age thing. It's like, how about you actually meet the people where they are? You actually give people things where they can ingest, and they can fall into your deep cuts in your rabbit hole. You need to make good stuff. I think Metallica is a great example because they figured out write really killer songs, sometimes do really like powerful song structures that are just really like basic that people already are pre-propagandized to like.
Yeah.
And then have really good graphic design. Actually be an artist in every way. When you see these films that are really good, it's written really well, and they took it as an opportunity to exercise art. Same with the acting, they took it as an opportunity to exercise art. Same with the design, same with the visuals, right? The problem with Zack Snyder is that he only is good at visuals, and he doesn't know how to write things, and then he doesn't really care about the acting stuff. He's not seeing it as a thing. And so if you're being totally self-serving, if you watch Rebel Moon, it's awful. It's because he's just looking at it as the visuals as a way for me to exercise my thing. But the story's awful, so it's not going to land. It's not going to be powerful. It's not going to rock. It's not going to inspire that goddamn of a sports car.
Yeah.
Or of... It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that if you're not actually doing everything. You need it to land. It needs to land, and you need to actually exercise art at every level, like you were saying. So... That's why first off, that's why I think the New Rock Dynasty is important, because the way I make money, since there's no ads, there's nothing, is I make 2% on transactions on the platform. So First off, you can sell your merch outside the platform, use me for all of your networking, and then still I get nothing, and I'm having to spend at least $2,000 a year or whatever keeping this website up. And as it gets bigger and bigger, it's probably going to be even more money. So the only way I break even is if people on the website make at least $100,000 every single year, at least, for me to stop losing money. I'm not making any money. I need you to make whatever it is, 10 million on the platform for me to make 100,000 or something. Like, it's insane.
Cheers
so
to that.
Starting out, I'll probably make money off of like podcasts and selling my own merch and things like that. But the platform is literally financially, it is, look, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I care. And this is not even just to say so that I can say I put my money where my mouth is. It's because I actually care. These are my actual values. I think there's inherent value in bringing back rock. So even if I had to spend money to do it, I will work a job so I can do it. Because I believe that in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it will be back. And that is going to be great, because that means I can also make a living as a musician. Great.
So because you do have that value, you have the belief in the inherent value of the art. How do you feel about what is it going to be physical media again? Is there going to be something that pushes back into the analog listening world, trying to get away from the infinite, trying to get back to the finite? Like, I think that carrying a book around is really a valuable thing. And there's only so much book you can carry. E-readers are great, but I prefer to read a book. I think it's really cool if you bring something. Yeah.
What is this?
I think if you bring something with you into the world, like I love vinyl, I pitch vinyl, I think everybody should have vinyl, I think people should listen to records. I like the warmth of a record, I enjoy that, but I also like to take my music with me, and I want to put headphones on. I prefer headphoned music. I always like it that way the most. So because I'm like that, and I like to like walk while I listen to music.
Yeah.
Something like a Walkman or a cassette tape analog, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I only have 2 cassettes with me today. I'm listening to King's X, and I'm listening to fucking I don't care, like whatever else, And it's just like if I have that, just a couple of things, like then it gets you back into the B side. It gets you the deeper cuts. It gets you an ability to listen to a full album. Like if you're doing the with New Rock
It makes
Dynasty,
you one of one. It makes you an individual.
Yes,
and that's the thing. So when you're talking
identity.
about the influences, all of these things, how does it actually become? You need something that's you need a pre-programmed thing that's palatable,
Sure.
that people can instantly suck into. So that's why, like, even if whatever you're doing, you use a pop song structure for some of the songs,
Yep.
so that they can be a hit. That idea is that there's a thing that people. Okay, they can fit to and they can really latch onto. But then, once they're in the community, whether it's they're isolated on the album with just you, or they're isolated just on the forum with just you, or the fan club with just you on your fan club on New Rock Dynasty, then they can explore all the deep cuts, all of these things, and they can hear, oh, you know what? I'm hearing those 2 things, and I'm hearing that little Primus thing there, but he's doing it on the saxophone instead.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. And he's combining this friggin' thing from that Huey Lewis song, and that's where he took the beat. Oh my God. And then they can fall down that rabbit hole and do these things and then wonder, and all of these things reemerge. I think, like you're saying, having that finite thing, you get the wonder and discovery element back. And so, do I think that's going to come back? Yes, to a certain extent, because this, like you said with the book, but I think it doesn't just need to be digital, or it doesn't just need to be analog.
Right.
Oh, you know what I was going to say? I think we need spaces, community spaces. There's a reason why working out in your home gym is different than working out at a gym.
Yeah, man, big
Right?
time.
And I think we need to have spaces for rock. Originally, the plan when I formed New Rock Dynasty, like I literally like filed the paperwork, made it a company like over a year ago, is I was thinking we would find guitar shops in local places, not Guitar Center, and we would put them in a network, and your local rock hairdresser and your local whatever rock coffee shop and your rock pub, because in Arizona there was one I knew, and there's all these little places I saw. I was like, damn, why aren't they in a network together where people all know I can go here and get rewards points, and it can build the community, and we can have it be kind of like, you put a sign in the door that has like the dragon logo on it, and people go, I'm part of the thing. There's a whole network. There's a secret society here, like the Continental and John Wick.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my idea. But now I realize I was putting the cart in front of the horse. First, I got to get famous. I got to do this thing and show people a path to success.
That's right. That's right.
So do my own rock version of Kill Tony in Austin, right? Get comedians there too on the panel. Oh,
how do you feel about then like a music discovery center, in a sense, not like a damn center, but like a pub or something of the sort, where
record stores, guitar shops, they need to have a couch in the back and people listening to music.
Yes,
you do that, you put it, and then eventually you can make some sort of community centers, right? But I think first, if you just look at what I would say first is, if I go to a guitar shop and say, hey, I've got 100,000 people on my website in your city, and they, instead of going to a Guitar Center, they want to go to a place where they're going to get rewards points. They've already got points from all these coffee shops and places they go, where they have rock music and punk or whatever playing in the background. Instead of you getting, I'm like, do these concessions, pay whatever, a couple grand a month to be in the thing, and you're going to make, if it's a guitar shop where they make like thousands of dollars of profit a month off of each sale, right? It's like, okay, well then let's, whatever 10% of that is, so let's assume let's say you get 3 extra sales a month. It's like, I'm going to charge you 1 sale then to be in the network, so you're going to profit at least 2. But also, you're going to have the exposure. You'll be on the website. People will know they can go to you. You'll be in the network. As it builds, you get a network effect. But the condition is, and I'm going to mandate, we have records, we have, you know what I mean? You have a couch in the back, and you have people listening, and you have a fridge stocked with free water. Or you just a water dispenser or water, you know what I mean? With a cup. And like, I'm not going to send in someone with a clipboard to check, or maybe I'll go check, you know what I mean? And then we'll launch every show, launch every store opening with a big show, and we'll get people. Like there was a Limp Bizkit playing in a parking lot I saw when they were touring for their first record, promoting it. And it just always reminds me, like, you could just show up and do a pop-up and just be like, this is the first thing that's in the network physically, and we're launching it here. Come here, get a big launch. Then people know it's a community place. And so I think instead of me trying to start all of these places, just these places where it's already natural to turn them into these local places where people enjoy music and come together. A record store, naturally.
Yep.
But I think for a record store, you'd want to add on like couches.
Yeah,
You need to have couches.
Yeah, you have to
You
have a
need to
listening
have
environment.
couches. You need it. Yeah, you need to have a socializing and listening environment. So maybe there's one room where literally it's a no talking room. You're just in there listening, and maybe there's another room where you're just you're able to talk, and they're both listening to the records over the speakers, right?
So my concept of exactly what you're talking about, I've actually,
And let me give you one last one. I want to
Go
hear
ahead,
your
go
concept.
ahead,
I was going
go
to say,
ahead.
I remembered I thought this idea, I was like, if in Austin they put a gym, where there's a gym, and then there's a little bit of wall, and there's like a food station, like a coffee shop where people like to work for remote work. They like to have a coffee shop environment. The problem is when I go to a coffee shop, all the food's unhealthy, and I don't want to gain calories, so I don't want to be sitting there eating croissants. But also, sometimes you're in your own head, you want to just go work out real quick. So I'm like, what if you had a coffee shop and then literally open the door into the gym, back to the work? I was like, and then you have the treadmill desk. I was thinking, like, that's a good idea. I don't see why you couldn't do similar things with music and other things where you combine the utility of a space. A pub is for drinking and for eating food, but also for listening to music, playing darts, and doing pool, right? Like,
right.
I
So
think, that could be an opportunity.
I had a bar-based concept wherein you would have a main room where an artist's full record was playing, but then you had somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 10 private listening rooms that had different seating arrangements, and each room had a theme and a server. So you would go into a record room, or you say room number 1 is punk rock room tonight. Go check it out. There's a selection already made for you, and you go in there, you sit down, you listen to new and interesting punk rock and some old punk rock as well on vinyls. The vinyls are for sale at the end of the night, as are the cassettes, and you have a server that comes into the room and says, oh, would you like a martini? We have a specialty drink menu, yada yada. Like, it's a nice plush velvet room environment in some of the rooms. It's a kind of a harder, punkier setup in other rooms. Like, you can kind of theme the rooms a little bit. It makes it a full experience. It's a fun fucking date. You're telling me you wouldn't take a girl out to a listening room to get her a really nice fucking $16 martini
Get the
some new
indie
music?
girl. Get the indie girls, get the rock girls,
And not only do you get the indie girl, you guys fucking make musical history together, and you lock favorite new songs and discover songs,
Emotions,
and then you fuck to those songs that you like so much, and then they become your song, and you play it at your fucking wedding, and everybody has a good time years later. But it's like this, that you have to cultivate this type of scene. And dude, I have looked, I got a lot of shit to do at the gym, but you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you know, if I could find somebody to help like structure this type of stuff, man, I would totally be investing in this type of business, want this type of business to exist. Somebody could make a lot of money. Take my fucking ideas, run. But like, like, if this environment existed in just outside of Asheville, like North Carolina, bro, I would go there on a date. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's an opportunity to get these things out. Like exactly what you're talking about, making, you could in essence chain this together and create a network based off of membership to the online platform. Like, you could have, you could call that establishment New Rock Dynasty in physical location. You know what I mean? Like,
there you go.
That's it's just something that I think can come back into culture where we're not so isolated with our own music, and we share it a little bit more, and make music actually popular again. Because I feel like, not to say that music isn't a popular thing, I just feel like as a medium, it's less in vogue than it was probably 30 years ago.
It's completely no. It smells funny.
Yeah. So
right?
I think it's time for something like that to come back, and I believe that analog handling,
it's a ritual. It's fun.
It's a
fun.
ritual. That's
it's
exactly
fun.
right. It's
There's
a ritual.
thing to it. It's a whole thing. Like I was raised Jewish, and I still am. Unfortunately, no, I'm kidding. No, I'm Jewish, but I gotta hit with the jokes. They haven't invited me to the meetings yet. I'd like to.
Damn. Let me know when you get
but
in.
I know. I control the weather though. I had a bad rain day, so I had to turn it off. Anyways, No, unborn babies, their blood tastes good. I'll tell you about it. Anyways, no,
Sweet.
so
Just AB.
unborn. Wait, how does it even make sense? Unborn babies don't have blood. It would be the mom's blood. Anyways, this is, keep that in. Jamie, clip that. Chat, clip that. Anyways,
we're
so
keeping that. We're already canceling.
but I think what you were saying was, and then they buy those records they like after they're in the listening room, and they buy the record or the cassette. And then what are they going to do? Go listen to it at home like a loser? No, they're going to come back to the place where the community is, and then people can sign up on a queue, on a wait list to have their record be the one that gets played for the night. And so the place might always mandate, okay, there's one full record of ours that we pick that gets to be played for the night, right? So that we've got some taste making and introducing new things that no one's bought before. They can check their logs and see, has anyone bought this record? It's like if there's a good record that no one's bought before, well, then that will advertise people to go buy that record for the night, right? And then people sign up to get to have their record played in the communal space, right? Mm-hmm. And so this whole, you know what I'm saying, right? I think it's a brilliant idea. And so then I think I want to build a digital nation state for rock.
Sure.
Right? Which is NewRockDynasty. But then I think there needs to be a physical instantiation where we can really get, so that's why I'm I think Austin's got the setup and the infrastructure. I would say Vegas would be a good place, but I would literally die if I'm in the desert. I spent a lot of time in Arizona. I tried to go back there to work in between going to grad school and undergrad, and I hated it. I was miserable. I was suicidal. I was I'm a happy person, so I'm
yeah,
no bueno.
Man,
I have serious nose problems and shit.
Have you been to Austin? Have you been down there?
I went to Atlanta because I'm going to Georgia Tech, but I'm doing it online. But I went there for a career fair, and on my way back, there was a layover in the Austin airport. Sure. And just in the airport, I was there with my brother and my dad. I was there was 5 bands, us walking from one gate to the other, all playing in bars. Just in the airport, I'm and tell me this isn't going to be a great place, a fertile crescent for me to start civilization again.
I'll give you a little insight on Austin now.
Give me some insight, yeah.
So I might be fucking wrong. I haven't been there in 10 years, okay?
That's okay.
But when I was there, still the same thing. Live music capital of the world. Ham was in full swing, helping musicians get health care and all this type of shit. It was like a unionized community of musicians. But I will say this: it was very working musician friendly, though it is chock full of cover-based musicians. It wasn't as big of an environment for original music, not like I thought it was gonna be. Because these bars, all 6th Street, man, I would play 2 or 3 gigs a day, every day.
Yeah.
I made a living, really working as a musician, but you're talking about going to a happy hour at noon and playing a cajon or something and harmonizing and shit. And you're gonna get $60, and this is 10 years ago. You get $60 for that hour or whatever, and then 7:30 p.m. you got a gig on Tuesday night. The band's gonna split $150 plus the tip, so you wind up with $200. So you make $60-ish bucks from your afternoon gig, $60-ish bucks from that gig, and then you go play a 10 p.m. show, and you might wind up with $80 from that. And so you can make a living with that rate 10 years ago. Add probably $40 to all of those for today's rates. It's still not you're not killing it, but you can live. But it was heavily weighted towards cover musicians because the bars are dude, no one fucking cares about your stuff.
Yes,
we need to hear.
We need a reason to care. I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna cut you off.
Go ahead.
This is the thing for everyone. This is why the community platform is dominant.
Yeah.
The hardest question in every music marketer when I was starting to look at the band was, you need to pick a reason for people to give a shit. If you can't do that, you're screwed. If you can do that, you instantly win the game. So the reason is, I think the infrastructure, it sounds like you're saying, the infrastructure in Austin is built up and sustained due to the cover ecosystem. But the instant you have some big homegrown stars, and let's say if the show does become a full-on rock Kill Tony, where it's okay, the guests were the Black Keys, Dave Chappelle, and whoever was all the panel of guests. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the night, whoever was the best one who we had on stage, who the audience voted on, they get to jam with the Black Keys and the house band for the night, and that's a 10-minute whole jam that goes on Spotify, that goes on wherever. They get a copy, the Black Keys get a copy, you know, if they want to post it or whatever. But like, and if there really starts to be these stars pop up, now there's a reason to care.
Yeah.
So now those bands can go play the cover venues. So that seems like a totally, there's an ecosystem to get transitioned into, you know, more of a, rather than a walking zombie smells funny scene, into a live, active, you know, vivacious scene. But there's actually that infrastructure there, versus in San Diego, there was like 1 or 2 places and they all shut down during COVID. So it's like, now it's like dead.
So to do it like kind of a Kill Tony thing, you know, you would in essence have to pick a Battle of the Bands type of model and not call it that. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you don't use Battle of the Bands anymore. You just kind of use like open mic music, which is basically
exactly
like what that is any given jazz room. There's a place, and Jesus, I should look this up. It's the Elephant Room. It's a jazz club in Austin, and I'm pretty sure it's still there. I hope it survived COVID. But tons of great jazz musicians. You go down into the cellar, you're playing together, you do sit-ins, you know, you're waiting in the wings to go on and play the kit. You know, there's like 5 trumpet players waiting to take their turn and just trade 16s or whatever. Like, it's a really cool environment. Now, your methodology would be more like, hey, you guys come on, you play 2 songs, and you get the fuck out of here, because that's more like a Kill Tony vibe, where it's like, all right, you play.
So we'd have a house kit, we'd have a house amp, house guitars.
Sure.
And then, in between,
once a week, like I know fucking Austonians would show up to that. I know it. They would want to pop in once a week, because that would be the event. It wouldn't work as like an every night thing, but I guarantee you,
once a week,
you could rent a stage from a ton of places, probably Antone's. You could do it like, you know, that's if you're. Any given place on 6th could probably do it. You know, like the Thirsty Nickel. I don't know if the Thirsty Nickel still exists, but if it does, or I know the building does, doing it there, like renting from them, say like a Thursday night spot, and go like, hey, you know, our gig tonight is actually we're in essence like a Kill Tony production. We bring 4 bands on. They each play 2, 3, 4 songs or whatever. They'll pay you. They'll pay you absolutely dick. I guarantee it. But you could get enough money for that bar that they'd invite you back weekly, and you could become like a house act once a week there.
Yeah.
And man, if you put that on the internet and charge for things, you will be able to convert it into something.
And then you run ads on that, right?
You run ads on that.
So that's the whole point. And the ads will make money. Yeah.
Definitely an option for a place like Austin, because what you're trying to do is become a regular house band. I was in multiple regular house bands. I had a gig at the Dizzy Rooster weekly, had a gig at the Blind Pig weekly, had a gig at Thirsty Nickel weekly. Always Chugging Monkey, a bunch of them. Had like 6 different places.
So let me run you an idea. My idea would be, right, so do it like I think Kill Tony literally was at Antone's, right? Before they moved venues. But literally you could do, since I think the Comedy Mothership, which is on 6th, right? Joe Rogan's Club, where Kill Tony is on Monday nights, and it's literally like sold out like months in advance. All of the shows, all the tickets, I'm pretty certain. So what you do is you would just literally do it and call it Rock Kill Tony, and you just have literally, and so I want to get some brothers out on the street going, hey, it's Rock Kill Tony, come on, we got comedians too. But we also got music. No.
Yes.
No, but I'm saying, I know. Getting a little sketchy. You're gonna get canceled. Anyways,
fuck,
no, I'm just joking.
Cancel me. Go ahead.
No, I know. But what I was gonna say is, the idea being that you would want to get, like I said, the rockers, the comedians, and the influencers, and so the panel could be rock musicians.
Yeah.
Get a comedian and an influencer, or like someone who's like got some sort of clout, got some sort of connection. And so then you'd have a bucket for comedians and a bucket for rock stars.
Yep.
So if you don't want to wait on Kill Tony, or you put your name in the bucket of Kill Tony, also put your name in the bucket over here, right? And so you could do it on Monday nights when people are trying to get into Kill Tony and they can't. Then it's like, boom, come over here.
Yeah.
Right? And so you could get the spillover. And so that because you've got the comedians, they could go on in between the bands doing set changes, right? And do stuff like that. And I don't like my problem with Kill Tony, and why I stopped watching is it's too depressing. They're being mean to everyone. I'm not about that, because here's the thing with art, it's subjective anyways, right?
Yep.
And so they do great. And it's their format, it's their shtick. But what I'm going to do is be like, did it work for you? Did it not work for you? That's the question for the panel. And then what do you think was going on there, and how does it relate to how you approach art? And so you're actually getting into the discussions of the panel about art and about approach and about culture and about all these things. You're getting to have this fun interplay.
Yep.
And if someone's down to have it, you get to have it. And if it turns into a scrap, a kiddie match, like oh my God, if it turns into I'm blanking on the name. God, his name Jerry, whatever. The guy on TV where it's your wife is a transvestite. And then they get into the fight. Jerry, what's his name? Jerry Springer. If it turns into Jerry Springer, then that's what happens. But we actually have the bandwidth. If we have the bandwidth to go up and actually have stuff that's genuinely fulfilling. And so if bands know, like, I'm really good, I've been gigging all the time, we're really good, then you just sign up on the show. Like, I had a guy on the podcast, Jackson Malone, who was doing country. I think he might be like 18 now, but he's been doing country and like touring Texas religiously since he was like 12 or 13 with bands and stuff. Like, he's put together a band where he's the front person. Yeah. And so now he's transitioned into rock, and not even like rock country, which is so funny. It's just like he's gone farther than like the most of the rock people who are wimpy nowadays. It's like actually like, oh wow, this is wrong. Like, and so what's funny is, he's really great, and he's touring constantly. He's like, dude, you got to come out to Texas. You got to come out to Texas. And so I'm like, a guy like that signs up on the show, comes on, or I just say, hey, I know this guy. He's going to be one of our shoo-ins for the night. You just come on. You weren't pulled out of the bucket, but come on. Right? So you do that, and so they get a recording of their music. It's a way to actually facilitate and bring a platform. And so what you'd want to have that happen is, someone comes on there and successful, either let's say the Black Keys are on the panel, they really like Jackson Malone and his band, and they've been gigging, they've been doing a ton. They're like, screw it, you're our opener on this next couple shows in Texas, because you're already here, we'll throw you on the lineup. That could be the big break. That's the path to a career. There was a band, The Warning, who blew up on the internet, who were really good, originally doing covers when they were like 12, and now they're like my age, and they were like 22. And they opened for Muse. And so that's how they got much bigger and actually got really big and established. And so it's like and so this is the magic of Kill Tony was it showed comedians that there's a path to success if I go and do that. And so it'll tell people, okay, there's a path to success if I go on Rock Kill Tony or whatever we call it, right? There's a path to success here. I can get exposed. I can get a recording of my performance. If I'm really well rehearsed and we've played a bunch of gigs and we're fluid and we go on there and crush it, it's like, who wants to get on SNL? No one. Right, as the music guest or Jimmy Fallon or these things. It's all corporate shoe-ins, right? But it's like, if you actually want a new rock dynasty, you want to have stuff that doesn't smell funny, that just rocks, build it. So that was my idea.
I dig that idea.
Mr. Knox?
Man, well, in tandem, like you have a massive brand which is NRD fucking nerd. I love it, dude. Like, who doesn't want to be a nerd? You know what I'm saying? Big NRD. New Rock Dynasty.
I know.
I love that. I like this whole brand, man. You could utilize that with the listening environment, like an NRD listening environment, NRD vinyl bar, blah blah blah. You could do the NRD. That's your Rock Kill Tony is just NRD. Man, like that is. You build it on the internet, you make it digitally viable, and then beyond the digital realm, you start setting up shop in brick and mortar places. And I think Austin will be a good haven for you, man. And God knows, I'll fly.
And then
out,
you spread.
Then
you spread. Yeah. Do it. Yeah.
But like I think God knows it's so fucking much work. You're gonna spend 20 years doing this, and I'm like, I'm here for it, brother. Like, I think it's gonna be cool. I definitely want.
I'll make money. I'll get to do the shit I want to do, because that's the thing is, if I'm getting up every day and I'm bringing back rock and I'm talking to rock people, I have infinite energy. When I'm talking to you right now, like, doesn't matter how tired I was, I'm like, I feel awesome. Like, and if that's all I'm doing all day every day, it's like
you wake up.
Duh.
You wake up for it. Yeah. Like, I'm with that, man. I'm with that. Well, I mean, I think that I really do hope that this is the beginning of something spectacularly large.
Yeah.
I really think it can be, and I think that's a part of your artistic course is that you're putting out really solid music. You're putting out seriously like hard rock music that is like in a spiritual way punk. Like that you have great punk rock vibes. It's real. It comes out of you. You know what I mean? And like there's not there's not a manufactured bullshit thing coming out of you, and I think that the pursuit towards the business side with you is really a part of your art, like because you're like a revolutionary. You're trying to just like drive art forward at your own fucking peril, and that's why we know it's real. So, same here, man. Like that's.
But I don't have a choice, dude. I mean, that's honestly the way I feel.
Yeah,
there's no option. So and I'm happy because I anytime I'm not doing that, when I didn't have clarity and I didn't kind of see, I was like, I am so miserable.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't care. Because I realized, I'm like, so when I was in school, I was like, okay, get really good grades so you can go to college, so you can get a good degree and yada, yada, yada. But it was so that I can do whatever the hell I want with my life.
That's right.
I somewhere after getting out of high school and getting into college, forgot that was the reason. And then once I was out and working, I was like, what is my life? Where am I going? Why am I doing any of this? This is not, I have to bring back rock. I need to be a world famous rock star. We need to have rock happening. And that in and of itself can be enough to pay my bills. Like, so why am I wasting time doing this whole routine? I don't like a bunch of stuff. I don't need a bunch of stuff. All I need is good people, sex, rock music, like get to work out, get to eat some chicken breast, go on the treadmill. You know what I mean? Like, and get to meme around with people. You know, and one day that's going to result in a giant castle and a production and Mr. Beast level stuff. It's gonna.
Yeah,
it's gonna.
Probably.
But. Like, if that came at me not bringing back rock, I don't want that. I want to bring back rock, and then we can add on whatever we want. Me having 100,000 kids, I genetically engineer them, or I get 800,000 wives in my castle, my compound. Like, it's all good because the groupies are going to come, right? They always do.
They always do.
No, but like exactly. I'm so excited, and like nowadays, if I'm like tired or I'm bored, or I'm doing something, or I had to like learn a whole coding language last second because I had like an assessment for a job I had to do and I didn't even know how to program it. So I was like, okay, screw it. We're staying up. We're learning how to do it. And then we did the assessment. But the whole reason is I was like, man, I'm tired. I don't feel well. My mood gets bad when I don't get enough sleep and all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. You're the guy who brings back rock. Like,
living the dream, dude.
Like, of course you're going to do the things that no one else does. You're inevitable.
Yeah.
We are inevitable.
You just fucking
We're bringing back rock.
You just run it home.
Exactly. It's like destiny awaits. And if and with all this longevity stuff and all these things, if we make any of these advancements, you only need one breakthrough, and then boom, they all kind of unfold. It's like, you're going to be alive for what? At least the next 100, 200 years? So you're like, I'm in really good shape. And already just with like TRT, it's like you go from stop being a human at like 35, and now it's like 75, like just with that, my dad is he's got bigger biceps, bigger arms than me, fucked off and didn't work out for like maybe like 8 years, but he's on TRT, and so his test is either at like 900 or maybe 1100, and he's just like, and so I'm sitting there and it's just like, but he's like, I think he's turning 60 in a month.
Fuck. Hell yeah.
Right?
Good for him, dude.
But all this is to say is he's like completely like, oh, he just retired. He became a doctor. He built this huge business. Huge is, I love my dad. Huge is an overstatement. He built a successful business. He built
hard.
That's what I'm going to say. Yes, because that's enough in itself. And then he was able to exit the business, get some money. Like I have a lot of family members who built businesses, and almost all of them never got as much as they wanted or as they think they should have been able to get.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is because usually they end up building a day job for themselves. A business is if you don't show up for a week, it still is working.
That's right.
A day job is you have to be there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like inherently, if you get removed out of the equation and someone gives you money for it and it doesn't work anymore, well, inherently it's not that valuable, right? Versus you're not in the equation, it still runs, it still makes all this money, well, then they're willing to give you more money.
That's right.
Not rocket science, by the way. I'm 22. I Googled that. Like, there's a guy, Alex Hormozy, who's grown a bunch of businesses, and he talks about all this stuff, and he invests in companies, and he literally is like, I invest in companies that are doing $1 million to $10 million or whatever a year in profit, and because I know how to get them from 1 to 10 million range up to like the multiple hundreds of million. And so even if I buy 30% of your company and I scale it, so what he does is he puts out all this advice and all of this business, like textbooks and things, to teach people how do you go from 0 to 100 or to $1 million. or to whatever, a couple 100,000. Because once you get to past $1 million, you get to a couple million, 7, 8 figures. Now I can just make a huge amount of money just by tweaking a couple things that you don't know how to do.
Yep.
And so that dude puts all that info out, and I'm 22, and I can read all this stuff and study and cross-corroborate and look at behavioral economics, look at the Rory Sutherland stuff. I had a great professor at UCSD, Anya Samek. She was really great, and she did a bunch of actual, like, behavioral economic stuff like we're talking about, where it's like, no, just make the thing better. Look, oh, you make more money. Like, people were upset at banks that they were waiting too long. I think it was like Bank of America or whatever, in the wait line. And if it was a 2-minute wait, everyone said it felt like 5 minutes. If it was a 5-minute wait, they said it felt like 10. And so they were going to try and do this whole thing to optimize and spend hundreds of millions of dollars to make it so that the wait times were quicker at the bank. Instead, they realized if you put a TV there, the 5-minute wait feels like 2 minutes, and the 2-minute wait feels like 1. And so instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars, they put a TV with the news running on it. And so all this is to say, none of this stuff is crazy. What did I get back to? Oh, no, my dad's retired, TRT, all this stuff. So I've got all this time. I've got plenty of time for all this to happen. And all I need for the next 5, 10 years is to just be able to start doing the things and gradually build. Like, after this interview, you're going to go to NewRockDynasty.com, Mr. Knox, and you're going to make your account, and you're going to sign up, and you're going to say, hey, if you actually want to stay, I have a free fan club. Come, my free fan club, get to talk to me, whatever on ideas on what songs you think I should work on next, what you're excited about, if you have ideas for merch, all these things, go check me out here. You do that, I'm going to go back and talk to the bands, and I'm going to get this whole thing turned into a nice slideshow over here, and I'm gonna be like, hey guys, you want to hop on a call? And be like, I have an idea. And I'll be like, fan club, and be like, convince them, get them all to join, and then once a bunch of them join, I'm gonna ask them. Here's the thing too: is what do you need help with?
Yeah.
Right? Do you need help with ads? Do you need help with marketing? Do you need help with mixing? Do you need help with graphic design? All these things, and I'm gonna list them, and I'm gonna be like, okay, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And do you have a budget for this year? Is there a budget for that? And once I have that, I've got like 20, 50 bands, even if it's 15, then I'm going to go to some of these people who are graphic designers for bands and be like, hey, I've got 15 bands. These are their budgets. This is what they're looking for. Join my website. Tell all your people to come on there. You're going to find people in the future, and I'm going to opt you into a list, and people will be able to opt into a list with basic info and some contact info and approved stuff, where an approved list of graphic designers, an approved list of mixers, and these people can look at it. So the facilitators, the people who are going to make money, instead of it being the record people, are going to be actually the people who help you, who have these skills. Because you said, oh, it used to be there's a pinstripe man who shows up, you just do the art, and a pinstripe suit man shows up, and he just makes everyone rich. And that's what he's doing, is bringing the fans and the art together, making the art of the best version it can, getting it to the fans in the way that they want it, and then facilitating the community interaction. But now the Pinstripe Man is all of these different people on Instagram saying, swipe up, DM for consult, right? That's now, the Pinstripe Man is all these decentralized things. And so if at New Rock Dynasty, you know, I can opt in and say, hey, here's the things I want, yada, 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 and there's a vetted list of people in each of those categories who provides these services, these service providers.
Yep.
And they can reach out to you through an approved contact info you gave. So maybe you make a burner email just for the band, just for that. And you're like, oh, okay, someone wants to do graphics for us, right? And so for the graphic designers, instead of shouting out into the internet, because they're having the same problem too, it's a leaky ship on their end too.
Hell yeah, it
and
is.
So if instead they know, oh, I can just have all these pre-qualified leads, and that's the reason the pop format, and you're talking about homogenized stuff, and like, what do you think about the homogeneity and the genre? They find a subgenre, and then they just keep like repeating it to the ground. It's because they're already pre-propaganda. They're pre-used to liking this sort of thing. And why did I bring that up? I had a tie-in for the homogenized thing. Oh, pre-qualified leads. They're pre-qualified. It's a pre-proven. You already know people have subscribed to this thing and they want more, and there's lack of supply. So just give them way more supply. You already know it's basically pre-ordered Teslas. Okay, I know I can spend this money making the factory because people have already put down deposits.
Yep.
I'm never going in the red. I'm always in the green. And so the same thing with the facilitators. I'm going to come to them after I get some of these bands and go, hey, access to bands. I literally went, bands, what do you get? What does New Rock Dynasty get? Fans get 100% of you. Yay! And then I went, facilitators, what do you get? Access to bands who need your exact skill. Pre-qualified leads with budgets. New Rock Dynasty gets to vet you.
Yep.
So you're not, weirdos. And then fans get bigger and more prosperous bands with better shows, music, merch, etc. Because you need people there who can facilitate the merch thing, who can facilitate the graphic design for the fans to be able to interact and consume and you to actually do it justice. And so, build a whole ecosystem. You make money off the merch and the shows. Now you get a way to build your audience, so more people come to the shows, more people buy the merch online, more people find you. The leaky ship turns it into a basket that you're able to build and pile all these people, and you can get exponential growth. Now you've got some money from the merch and the shows to actually spend $50, $100, 200, whatever, 1,000 on logos, design, merch, concept art, all these things, whatever you need.
Mix engineering,
and people,
mastering.
Exactly, mix engineering, mastering. Oh my God, producing. There was a guy who I wanted to work with. He's a producer. And I was like, let me wait until I get my podcast big, invite him on the podcast, and then try and court him.
Sure.
And he was like, no. I was just like, want to come on my podcast? He's like, I'm good, bro. I was like, okay.
All right.
But I'm like, build this whole thing, get everything set up, get the pre-qualified leads, get this whole thing going, get this ecosystem up and running. Then I don't have to, every single time I need something, have to go and do it. Or someone else needs something, they have to go and do it and find these people. We just build up a thing where everyone, instead of retreading the same ground, doing steps 0 through 4, everyone can start already at step 4, and just now we can all move from step 4 to 40. You know what I mean? We can do that. So that was kind of the idea. How did I get onto that? I was saying the facilitators, these people with these skills. How did I get onto the people with this skill thing? Oh, what am I doing? I was saying, so I'm gonna go build this website. I want to go build this website,
right.
And I'm going to go do it now. And then, yes. And then I just rinse and repeat. Because then you tell the bands, you tell the mixers, you say, hey, you know how you're going to get more clients? If you get your biggest bands, your biggest people to go on to New Rock Dynasty. So I'm going to get to vet you. You get access to all these pre-qualified leads.
Yep.
But you tell all your fans, all your followers to go follow you in New Rock Dynasty to build up that website. Because what if one of them has a band? They make an account on there. They start getting a little bit of a following, and they go, I need that skill. And I like this guy because he's the whole reason I came here.
Right.
So now they come on. So you tell these people who are working with bands with hundreds of thousands of followers or even 10,000 followers, say, have them come on here and bring their fan base on here, their fan club. Because why would you want to have your own fan club isolated on the internet where you feel this pressure, like a Patreon, to have to fill it with content constantly or else they're going to leave, versus all of the bands they like are already there.
Right.
There's a fan club, and you get the integration, and they can shop directly within. It doesn't feel high pressure at all to want to buy stuff or to have to pay up front to be on your Patreon. It's just there if they want to do it, right? And so then just rinse and repeat, go back and forth, ping pong, then set up the show in Austin and just focus on that. And then I believe the confluence of all these things grows and grows and grows. That's my plan right now.
Well, I think that's a good spot to end, brother. I mean, that really
is.
Oh,
sorry, I kept you going.
No. No, that's like your plan is a solid plan. Your music is solid music. You're trying to establish a solid community for rock. And
do you want to talk about music? I feel bad I didn't talk about it.
You talked about music for like 20 minutes, man.
But I didn't really talk about writing. I didn't talk about writing.
That's perfectly fine, man. Like what you're excited about is not just the fact that you are an artist and that you're putting out music. You're excited about trying to jumpstart a real musical revolution. A
real New Rock Dynasty, if you might.
Yeah, and listen, that is one of your chief artistic endeavors day in, day out. That's what you're focused on right now. And that's what you're talking about. So, man, it's the process.
It's reason to care.
It's the process.
I'm giving people a reason to care. Because even if they don't care about my music, right, the reason to get them to check in is because, this is the guy who brought back rock.
Yeah, well, that's you're discussing the process of doing that. That's what we're talking about, man. This is your art right now. When it's building something, it's fucking hard. Stuff doesn't show up overnight in business and life, period. And people need to know that. People need to know how to get in touch with people like you, like me, that have skills, have technical abilities, have business
promotional built up
capabilities.
the promotion. Because here's the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the Rock Show with Connor Farrell. I'll probably have an episode go out every day, right? And so on Mondays it'll be from the week prior, so we can edit it and whatever. But it'll be the Kill Tony whatever Rock Kill Tony thing, and then every other day of the week it can just be someone who went on New Rock Dynasty and hit me up, and we're just talking. Right? Like that's Joe Rogan does fight companions that he does for the UFC, and that's completely different. But he just still puts it on as Joe Rogan Experience. It's the same thing. So you can have different episodes that are like still within the same podcast. And, so that's where I'm like, yeah, so if you want to I had the Black Keys on and all these people on the live show, and then the next day, Jimbo, who's been doing it for 3 months but is really cool, I'm just talking to Jimbo because I want to talk about Jimbo about some stuff. It's just fun.
That's right.
I met Jimbo at the gym actually earlier today. Like that's what I mean. Like literally, like it could just be that. And then instantly you're able to get exposure. And so you said people need a way to connect with people with these skills, these different subsets and things. One of it could just be marketing.
That's right.
I want to build a big pillar through which I can expose the world to these rockers so that people can actually have a career path. That's the whole thing. That's and so you're saying, yeah, I think you're right. And it is an art, and things don't build overnight. And that's the thing I have to keep reminding myself is like, my goal is to do good work every single day, or, most days, or have good stuff coming out every day. Like with YouTube, I bulked it all for a month, right? And that's satisfactory. That's maintenance level. That's not, they're all 5-minute videos of me saying Kendrick shouldn't have played the Super Bowl because he's low energy. Snoop Dogg would have been better. And then here's the band I clickbaited. They would have been the best. And, but the reason I go to say that is my goal was for this year, I knew going in, I was like, my goal was not going to be make a video every day. That's going to stress me out and not going to be productive. It's not going to do anything. Really what I want to have, I want to have video going out most days of the year. And by the end of the year, I want to be at the point where I am the person who has a backlog of videos, and videos are coming out pretty consistently, near daily. That's who I want to become by the end of the year, the person who has that habit. So my goal for the year is not to post a video every day. It's to, by the end of the year, have became that person who has that kind of circumstance going on. So by the end of the year, my goal this year is to be the person who has people coming onto the website, who is talking with facilitators, who is building out a list and a spreadsheet and a way for that all to interact, to be the person who has moved to Austin, who has got a shitty show that's barely breaking even with no decent guests, but people are signing up because we're getting people from Kill Tony, with bad comedians, with the panel, with the videos going out poorly, and like the shitty camera equipment. But by the end of the year, my goal is to be the person who has videos coming out consistently, who has New Rock Dynasty going to a certain extent, even if it's small, who has the Austin show going, because then next year, the year after that, my goal could just be get it all bigger, keep it going, get bigger and better guests. I can pick specific things that are going to make each of these things blow up, whether it's get a big band on New Rock Dynasty and have them be the guests on the show. Like if just Muse of the Black Keys likes the mission and they're the guest on the show, on the panel, well, now that's all we needed, and now it's boom, it's big, period. So now all the other big guests want to come on.
right here, like, but before signing off, man, what you're doing right there in your mind is you are structuring out years-long plans. And if this episode of the process does anything whatsoever for somebody trying to figure out what it's like to make art, shit takes forever. It's just the way that it goes. If you want bigger biceps, that's 3 months, man. Sorry, it's going to take that. You got to put in all the fucking effort to get there. You got to eat the right food. At least, right. And so the same thing, man. You want to record an album? Well, when it's just you, hell yeah, look at those fucking things. When it's just me, man, like, I gotta write the drum parts. I've been working on a drum part this week. It's taken me all week. I'm really trying to focus on really delivering a solid and pretty technical, but like just driving performance in the song. But that's a full week of my time for a drum part. The week prior was a guitar part, and then the vocals are probably going to take me 2-3 days. Like the album takes me roughly a year to do, and like that's and I don't I'm going to start releasing
I wanted
singles.
to be quicker, by the way. That's why another part of the New Rock Dynasty thing is things take time, but also some things don't have to take time if you find someone with the skill. I don't have to refigure out how to mix and master. I don't have to refigure out how to write perfect drum parts. I know what I kind of want, and I know if I had a drummer, maybe pay him $50.
That's right.
He could probably get exactly what I wanted instantly, instead of me spending a year working on my drumming and then just being able to put out the album barely, and I got nothing else done. And like if you're early in life like I am, you don't have that time to waste. You don't have that time to lose.
Man,
you know what I mean?
There's
Yeah.
Time is all you have, man. That's all you have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more of it.
What's a
and
good
less
thing
of
to
it.
lose your time to? What's you think from what do I want to waste my time on? Well, I definitely want to waste my time on going to the gym because I'm going to feel better, I'm going to physically be better, and people are going to implicitly respect you more.
Yeah, I want to put my time there. I want to put my time there. That's what I mean. Like I want to pay my time.
Yes.
Time there.
I think that's the thing is like if yeah, exactly. If I felt like I wasn't if I didn't get if I thought if I just like if I went with the assumption that I'm not going to necessarily enjoy how I spend my time for the next year, what would be something that I would definitely want to have happened over the last year in the way that I spent my time? And it could be like, oh, well, I wish I had gone to the gym every day. I'm never going to look back and be like, man, I'm really happy I didn't spend time going to the gym. But you might regret working on that prog rock song, Anthem, that was 30 minutes long, that you spent working on every day for a year, 80 hours, and it came out and sounded like shit anyways.
Well,
so
you might feel like
no, but you might. I'm saying, writing music, that's not all it is. But when you go into stuff, sometimes you want to think about, like, yeah, what would I've actually, minimizing regret. If you're looking to minimize regret, I think it calms your soul, at least for me. My brain is so just hyperactive that if there isn't a solid logic to what I'm doing long term, I can't rest, I can't recover, I can't relax because there's no getting away from him. It doesn't let me go. It doesn't let me go.
You'll find a way to tie that fucker in one day, and it'll be a loving way too. It'll come, but there's
and I love it. But it just like when I was not doing the rock stuff, and I just like didn't know what I was doing, like I knew there was something wrong. It was like you gotta like at least get an idea of what's happening, an idea of what. Oh, got it. You got to get some of that. You got to get some of that before I let you
a place to go.
Rest.
You have to have a place. You have to have a destination before you can set a sail. And so what you're doing is it's really fascinating, man. I'm loving your journey. Like, and you are, man. You're early in life. Like God knows, like 22.
I know. Yeah, it's why I'm excited.
You really are. You're fucking like young, dumb, full of cum. I love it. Like you just. Like you got to rock forward, man, and it takes people that are willing to pick up a flag and like run forward and jam it in the ground to make the needle move. And I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad you're kind of taking life by the balls and going, all right, I'm fucking going to Austin, and you should. But it's the thing that you're really recognizing here that I like so much is that to really put something into motion, it takes proper strategy to know whether or not you're successful, and if you can't achieve moving to Austin and creating a rock club in 6 weeks, that's impossible. But you can take micro steps within 2-3 years, and when you take a micro step, you can get a little dopaminergic hit and a little serotonin bump because you didn't fail today. You moved toward the thing. And that's the success. Yeah. And that's, when you get a drum part done, when you get a guitar part done, when you get your vocal lines done, like, hey, you're closer to the record or you're closer to the end of the song. The same thing applies, man. Like every single day that you get your ideas out, every video that you post is a little closer. Every time you post on New Rock Dynasty, it's a little closer to New Rock Dynasty having 450,000 members on the internet and then 13 locations across the U.S. and then beyond. Like, but every single day, even if it's a fucking cunt hair of growth, it's growth, and you got to be excited about it. And that's cool, man. It's good to see. It's good to see like that guys that are your age. Like I'm a little bit older. I'm 36, but it's like I was really worried that fucking 17 to 25-year-olds were going to be like fuck music entirely. I wasn't sure that there would be like a card carrying, flag waving psycho like yourself that would go and do it. And like it's fucking awesome to see because I know that like music deserves children, man. Like so, we'll just keep fucking making this art, and it's just a pleasure to see it. I'm very happy about it. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to fucking talk with you and like keep doing this kind of stuff. So you're right.
Yeah, same here.
I am gonna go to New Rock Dynasty. Like as soon as I hit end on this, I'm gonna go get signed up. We'll set it up, And
Hey, get your homies, get your friends
all of
who do
them.
music as well.
For sure, definitely
Literally,
will.
yeah.
Definitely will.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure,
Because
man.
before I go and ask my friends, I want there to actually be people on the site. Because then once I ask them, then they're gonna be like, oh, there's people here.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna post nonstop. I've already got like, but yeah, and so on your point, music needs kids. I think there's a difference. There's people who can't escape. That just in there, it's got to happen.
Yep.
There's some sort of destiny where it's like there's no world in which I live a life where I don't spend like all of my time building back rock.
Yeah.
Whether I'm leading it, whether I'm following, second in command, whatever the hell, right? But there are some people, like you're saying, where it needs to start because I would say probably 75% of all the great musicians, and you listen to their story, it starts well, I was short or I wasn't that jacked and I wanted to get laid. So I picked up an instrument because that was a way to get status and girls and proximity and yada, 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 and attention and to all of these things. And so as that comes back, as being a rock star becomes cool, because people are like, kids want to become YouTubers and influencers and comedians now because you're like, they want to be the cool thing, whatever the cool thing is where you get laid and you get money and you have a great life and you get to have fun. Yeah, no shit. Kids want to do that. And so people are like, why don't kids like music anymore? Hey, Rick me out of you freaking
guy.
Bite my words. Guy. Silly Billy. No shit. Kids don't want to be lame, dork, nerd, geek losers. Okay? I'm sorry. That's obvious. And so, will there be that portion of 17 to 25-year-olds like myself who are like, I was going to be all in on rock anyways, right? And music anyways. Yes. But as things start to cook, oh my God, the people who discover they have the passion, because all those rock stars might have got in to get laid, but then they really fell in love with it.
That's right.
Right? And so as things rebuild, the group of people who realize, oh, actually, I did this to get laid, but now I actually like it. That group will start to appear as well. And so then I think we'll have a relatively normal population. I suspect, if anything, as like things get more and more automated, the money will be made through cultural endeavors, through art, through these things, and people will only want to really spend their money on that. Because if food, if energy, if a lot of these things do get cheaper, and everyone's just got way more like income relative to what their fixed expenses are, they're going to go out. They're going to spend it on experience.
Yep.
Not everyone. Some people might buy more things, but if they do buy things, they're buying a plushie of Bulby.
Yeah, fucking totally. Yes. Or posters, God knows, or T-shirts. Get your goddamn T-shirts.
Oh my God,
man, cool. I'm gonna go set up the profile. I gotta go ahead and get running, but I will talk to you in short order, man. I'll get this up ASAP, and everyone, thank you for coming to the process and tuning in with me. My name is Baron Knox. This is Connor O'Farrell, the guy that has brought you New Rock Dynasty. Go to NewRockDynasty.com. Do it now. Just get an account. Start checking out bands. Start actually giving a shit about your musicians and your music and the art in the world, because what you listen to helps make you who you are, and that shit matters. See you soon, everybody.